I am going to ask each of them a question. We'll pass the microphone down for them to answer. And we'll just do a round robin, starting with Jess, then Pat, and then Sharon. Question is, please tell us the story of how you first came to a Unitarian Universalist church and what keeps you here.
Jess Gardner. During COVID, Megan and I used to, and the kids would go on walks because we couldn't be around any other people, so we had to get exercise and get out of the house and get some sanity. And we would always take this neighborhood, and our dog would come with us. And we decided to, Megan mentioned a couple of times that she had wanted to check out the church, and I think she knows that I'm not very religious, so it was kind of like passing it by me. And I just said, you know, I would go with you, right? And I didn't really expect to like it. But I do love it. What keeps me here? Social action aspect of this church, like people not just talking about things, actually doing things.
And not just staying here, but stepping up to be the chairperson of the board. Yay, we're so lucky. I'm Pat. I was teaching Sunday school at Church of the Holy Nativity, which is the Episcopal church north of here, because I was raised Episcopal, and because my one child got to the point where they were way too wiggly and noisy to sit in the pew, and there was no nursery or Sunday school. So for everyone's benefit, I said, can I take him down into there, which developed into a small Sunday school. But boy, kids, they are the best in the world at making you question what you really believe when you have to teach them. And I really believe Jesus loves me. This I know. I'm not sure that because the Bible told me so is a good enough reason. So I started questioning. And at the same time, my son was having a little bit of a challenging and questioning time in their life. So we started church hunting. And when we came here, the very first Sunday we were here, the choir got up and sang, "Coffee, coffee, coffee, how I adore thee." And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And from there, I wanted to surround us with community, with like-minded feelings, and we wanted to surround our son with a supportive, non-judgmental, open environment. And the OWL, Our Whole Lives training, Amanda and the RE here fit all of those buttons. And what keeps me here is the same things that brought us here. We are this church. I believe we are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. And that hasn't changed over the 10 years I've been here.
If you don't mind, I'm going to stand. It's easier for me to breathe. I'm Sharon O'Connor. In the mid-1970s, I was living in Calumet Park, and a friend of mine, who, interestingly enough, was a communist, told me that he thought that I would fit right in at the Unitarian Church, and that it'd be right up my alley. So I came, and he was right. The minister at that time was Robert Shively, and the very first day, I went home and I found myself thinking about what he talked about all week long. So I came back the next week, and it happened again. And so I kept coming, and my daughters very much liked church school. And something that happened to me in those early days is something probably none of the women involved remember, but there was a women's group that was going on. And I joined this group, and there were maybe a half a dozen of us, and no one said anything, but through the course of the conversation, I came to realize that they all had at least one degree, and I was a high school graduate, and I felt a little intimidated by this, and it didn't make a particle of difference. I mean, I don't know if they even knew my situation, but that helped me so much. And it gave me such a step up, and I think, Pam, you were one of those people, that I now ended up with 2 master's degrees, and I think they were the ones who put me on the right track. I keep coming here for all the obvious reasons. It's a great place to be, a great place to spend time, and I really like all of you.
Thank you all. In our denomination, we find atheists, agnostics, Christians, Buddhists, sacred humanists, pagans, and more. Can you tell us where you are today, religiously speaking?
I think I could fit into any of these categories besides Christians, probably. And I'm probably all of these things at different times in the day. I like to take the things that I appreciate out of things and leave the rest. I have deep respect for like nature and energy, but I'm not what I would say religious. I really do appreciate like reading Buddhist literature. I wouldn't say I'm a Buddhist, but it just feels like healthy ways of thinking. And I also grew up Episcopalian. You know, it's not
Catholic life.
Yeah, it's not. It's, church isn't awesome for gay people most of the time, but so yeah. Yeah, they were okay. Yeah, I mean, they're in the spectrum of okayness. That's right.
I love that Episcopals are on the spectrum. I kind of agree. I guess I am officially Episcopal and UU because I've signed the books and they haven't kicked me out. I have attended, most of my early was Episcopalian. My mother was British, an Episcopalian. We went to Lutheran church when I was a teenager because they had a better youth program. I've attended Presbyterian churches, Catholic churches, where I think I'm damned because I took the bread and wine and I didn't know you weren't supposed to if you weren't Catholic. I've walked out of a Missouri Synod Lutheran church where on Easter Sunday the minister actually said, not only if you're not a Christian, but if you're not a Missouri Synod Lutheran, you are damned to hell. I looked at all my friends, we went, and like you, I like a lot of the Buddhist readings. I think maybe the battery died, but I have a big stage voice. So I also love reading, and I was very influenced by Carl Sagan books, Contact or Cosmos, or whichever I get them mixed up, and a book by somebody else called Holy Envy. Who was an Episcopal minister who left the pulpit to teach Religion 101 in a Bible Belt school, about why do you have to choose everything from your faith? Why can you not? There are things that Jews do better, there are things that Buddhists do better, there are things that Christians do better, and we can embody all of them. So, having said all that, long answer to a short question, I would probably now say I identify most as a sacred humanist, or a Carl Saganist, because I don't know if I believe in God, but I also don't know that God isn't something that I just don't understand, that is a mystery. I do believe in sacred and miracles and nature. And coffee.
I really haven't found any reason since March to change my thought about the existence of God. However, and if I don't know if all of you remember, I did a thing on atheism in March, and I'm still pretty okay with that. But having said that, I have a daughter who's very active in her non-denominational Christian church, and I find it very interesting to talk to her. She is thoughtful and mindful and thinks a lot about her faith. And it's interesting to talk to her about that. Her husband has no interest in it whatsoever, and that's fine with both of them. He doesn't care that she's very interested, and she doesn't care that he's not anything. So, you know, life in our family religiously is pretty calm. What's the third part of this? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, one other thing though. I have to say that I am really, really impressed with Pope Leo. And I think he's a good guy, and I wish that the Catholics had behaved like him for centuries, and we'd all be in a better and different place.
Jess, first on. You chose military after high school. Did you have specific thoughts on the benefits of service? Were your expectations fulfilled? And during service, you were able to travel. What was your favorite location and why? It's a two-part.
So I joined the military, made the choice to join high school because I was kicked out of my house as a junior in high school. And, sorry. Sorry, I got like 2 hours of sleep last night, so I'm a little emotional. It was that or be homeless, so, you know, you do what you do. Did it meet my expectations? It sure did. I was in during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and they met every one of my expectations. I wanted to go to college, so I was able to do that. I started college when I was 35. Sorry. Anyway, my first duty station was my favorite. It was, I got stationed in Japan, which was awesome. It was very illuminating and really was a defining, like, phase in my life where I got to experience a completely different culture alongside of very ignorant people who didn't appreciate it, which made me feel like I wasn't crazy. And then was still in during September 11th, which was very eye-opening. And another defining moment of my life where I understood that I did not belong there. But I was very grateful to know that. And what was the second part of it? Just the last. Oh, what is my favorite location and why? Japan. If you have never been to Japan, please go. It doesn't have to be $1 million. You are gonna have to do some research saying this out loud because you have to. But you don't have to spend $1 million. You have to spend $500,000 on the flight and then be responsible about your research. But it's a beautiful country and you should definitely go. It felt very safe. I did so many things by myself and I've never looked very feminine, so I wouldn't say it would be the same for everyone, but I felt completely safe to walk the streets at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's no guns there. The police don't even have guns most of the time. They have like pellet guns. It's awesome. Where in Japan were you? About an hour outside of Tokyo by train. So I was at Camp Sama. But there's not a lot of army in Japan. But I was at a small Army base, 2,000 active duty military soldiers and their, family members and stuff. And it's, if Japan kind of looks like an elbow to me, I was more toward the elbow.
And just to follow up, your interests are varied. You shared your musical talent with guitar and singing, arts and crafts with young and old. What keeps you excited?
Let's see. I mean, learning. Learning keeps me excited. I love to learn about new things. I love to teach myself to do new things. Right now, I've been doing a lot of beading. Sounds weird, but I enjoy it. Just learning all kinds of things to do with my hands, woodworking, things like that. And social action, social justice type things.
Pat, you've lived in various parts of the country and eventually landed in Chicago. What brought you here and what has kept you here?
I've moved around a lot, I would say chasing dreams. From college in Boston to DC where I grew up to outside of Detroit for theater, chasing that dream, following that in a different form to Florida, and a lot of these were happenstance. Probably all of them were happenstance. An audition that landed at the job when Universal Studios was opening in Florida. I only auditioned because a friend wanted to audition. I was like, okay. And then to here, when after a few years there, happenstance, my father said, if you ever want to go back, I was talking about education or a higher degree, I think. He said, we always said we'd support you. And I'm like, really? I must have not been paying attention at that moment. So I started auditioning and ended up at the theater school at DePaul here. And expected to be here for the 3 years of the program and then probably move somewhere else. But then this big, burly Marlboro man, if you remember the billboards from years ago, walked into the little office in the basement of the theater where I was subbing for someone who was out on maternity leave. And he literally stood there and went, hi. Oh, that was it, He was even dating someone else at the time and about to take her off to Barbados or somewhere, but I stuck with it. And then I started a theater company here, Timeline Theater Company, which is just building a whole new building after 20 years in Uptown. And he helped with that and became a company member as well. So all of those things are what brought me here, and what has kept me here is my Marlboro man, who actually would rather be on a mountaintop in Colorado. So it's amazing that he's stayed here with me. And our son and the community. Who knows? We've just paid off our mortgage and our son is off to college. So we may consider that mountaintop in Colorado, but for now it's really hard to leave the people that were so with you during seminal parts of your life. And this church is a part of that. That's part one, right?
You are a person who uses your creative and social skills to do good. Share with us your journey from working to create a theater company to now using your skills as a standardized patient.
So the theater company was a bit of happenstance. 5 of us graduates from the MFA program and the BFA program at the theater school had this really unique idea. Let's start a theater company in Chicago. Wow. So that was really following a passion. The becoming a standardized patient, if traveling and starting the theater company was chasing dreams, that was chasing a paycheck and a stable income. I was literally having a Pilates adjustment or something, and the woman working on me, you may have noticed I'm chatty. I was saying, hey, can I ask, do you make a living doing this? Because I'm an actress, but I also have a subsistence job or jobs. And she said, no, I'm also a standardized patient. And I was like, oh, what? And if anybody is my age and remembers Seinfeld, you have heard of Kramer becoming a standardized patient where he acts like a patient, and he was so excited because he got to be the patient that had gonorrhea. So, other than that, it's become a very, very rewarding amount of work. For me, what's important in work is that it be creative, that it be varied, that it be social, and that it's doing something good for the world. So being a standardized patient is all of those things. I am one-on-one with medical learners, nurses, medical students, residents, and it may be their first encounter practicing how to talk to a patient, take a basic patient history, up through more sensitive screenings like screening for sexual abuse or alcoholism or drug addiction, through how to do a basic physical exam, all the way up through more sensitive exams as well as more sensitive topics. It's incredibly rewarding to me because I'm offering a safe place for these learners to learn new skills. I'm giving them feedback if it's a formative exercise in person. Did you realize that when you asked me if my parents were still alive and I told you my father just died of Alzheimer's, you said, good, and what about your things that they don't even realize they're doing, or that you never looked up when I told you things, or that you were tapping your pencil, or that you asked judgmental questions like, how many drinks do you have, before even asking if I drink alcohol? Or now that we're moving, when I love this field because I feel like it is trying very hard in education to move with society. What assumptions do we make? What implicit bias do we have when we even address someone as you look like a woman or you look like a man, she, her, assuming that someone is sexually active rather than finding out what you need to know versus what you might want to know about that patient in front of you. And the final thing that is very rewarding to me that I've started sharing more because I think it's really valuable is I teach sensitive exams, which we used to call female exams. Now we call them a chest or breast exam and a pelvic exam, and how you guide a patient through that, again, not only for physical comfort, but also psychological and emotional comfort. Because how you feel, if you're emotionally comfortable, that affects the muscles. And I work with all the way, again, through second-year medical students up through sexual assault nursing experts. So it's very, very rewarding. It's creative. Every learner is different. I'm able to give them a safe place to practice all these skills, which I feel then makes them better, more sensitive practitioners, which is helping all of us. Yeah, that's what I do. And it's using my skills that I already have. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Sharon, since retirement, you volunteered with hospice. Please share about this work and its benefits.
Well, I know about the benefits from being on the receiving end. We probably have all had people in hospice, and some are better than others. And when my best friend died, I thought, maybe I could do this for somebody. So I joined a hospice that's religious, and I told them out front, we're not walking on the same side of the street. And she said, that's fine, no problem. So I've been doing that for, I think, maybe a year and a half, coming up on 2 years. And I've been with a variety of people, a couple who were actively dying and had no one, so it's good to have someone sitting there with you. And a couple people never recognize me when I show up. And a couple of people are still very lucid and are pretty, have a lot of self-awareness and are trying to decide, how they're looking at death, and all that's interesting to me. As a kid, we all went to wakes and funerals. I mean, being around death is, it's like being pregnant. It's all around you, but you don't know what it's really like until it happens to you. And so, then I worked at the medical examiner's office for almost 20 years, and so death really doesn't bother me intellectually very much. And so, I think I don't know what to tell you I've gotten out of this yet. I don't think I've been doing it long enough. This is, a pretty deep waters, and I'm not sure. I hope I'm doing some good. You never know. You hope. And I hope that I learned what I'm meant to learn from this experience, but I'm not sure yet.
Sharon, you're known for your passion to speak out about wrongs in society. How did you find your voice? And what do you look for in leadership to guide us to look beyond ourselves and to help others?
When I was living in Calumet Park around the same time, they had an organization called the Community Improvement Association, and the goal of the organization was to fight redlining and blockbusting. And that was how I got involved. And they then sent a few of us through the Saul Alinsky Industrial Areas Foundation community organizing training. And I learned a lot. And I learned how to talk in front of people. I learned to pay attention to what people were saying. And I remember we went to every door in Calumet Park, and forgetting, because when you're involved with something, you forget everybody doesn't know what you're talking about. I'd go up and I'd say, hi, I'm with the CIA. And they go, why? Why are you here? And so it became a fact that I had to pay attention to who I was talking to and not just, sort of talk about what I was talking about. I was there to listen to find out what they cared about in the community. So that was my first experience with that. But, I have to say that what it really did was explain to me something that I had been witnessing most of my life living on the South Side. One neighborhood after another was manipulated into falling for the redlining, and banks were redlining, and people weren't helped with the blockbusting, and so it was a tough fight. But looking back on it, all those things are now gone, at least legally, and so yeah. That's one of the things I'm happy about, and that's how I got involved.
Now, this is the last question. Everybody has the same question. So we'll just pass the microphone down. If you had a bucket list, what is one thing that would be on it?
I'm not one for following rules, so two things that would be on my bucket list would be eventually selling my art and traveling. And then like I said, I'm not good with following rules. I would like to say that through my tears, when I did go to college at 35, I wanted them to know that I wanted to be there. And I did that by showing up fully. And I was a valedictorian 2 times. 2 times. So, and I just wanted to say in my rest of my minute and a half, that if anybody knows anybody that's going into the military, please use me as a point of reference so I can set you in the right direction, because there's lots of things you wouldn't know to know or ask, and things can be different for people if they know to ask. So if you do know anybody that's joining the military, please ask me questions or tell me to ask them questions, okay?
I love that you said that, and I'm going to piggyback on, I think, one of the most wonderful things about being asked to do this, and the nerves and the self-doubt are not part of that, is that Marylee is so wonderful. The questions make you really reflect, and I wouldn't reflect to the level I did if I hadn't had a deadline and knew I was sitting up here. So I encourage anyone, you'll find things about yourself that you hadn't thought about and bring them up to the fore again. So tagging on you, I think that the reason, if we're up here willing to share, anything that we're willing to share, to me, is a tacit invitation to say, if you want to know more, if you've had an experience, positive or negative, or you just want to find out more, doing this is an invitation, and that makes it rewarding. I have a bucket list that's like 5 pages long right now, so I'm only going to say one. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I really want to go to an elephant sanctuary. You did? Oh, she did that. I'm going to talk to you later.
I have 3 things. One is I'd like to go visit my sister-in-law and her husband before one of us dies. They live in Mexico, and I'd like to get down to see them before it's too late. My grandson and I took a trip to France in May, and that was great fun, and I would like to take one more trip with him if I've got it in me. And the final thing on my bucket list is I hope that I live long enough to see the Nuremberg phase of all of this nightmare come to pass. Yes.
I am so grateful for the opportunity to get to know these 3 wonderful people much more deeply. Lots of questions, lots of opportunity to talk, and it was hard to whittle down the questions to make it within some kind of a time frame that we, aren't having supper later. So thank you all. Thank you all very much.
I regret to inform you all that I have misplaced my phone, so I do not have my closing words. I will let Maria's beautiful singing act as beautiful singing and closing words. We're going to be singing together. 1074, Turn the World Around. This has some repeats. I'll let you know what page we're on. We'll get through it together. It's a good one. You should never be flipping backwards through the pages. It will only move forward once we move on. 1074. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. Now we come from the the water. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. Living in the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Mountain, go back to the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around.